conservative new media viewers and JLin fans around the world. What's up? It's me, PFV, Paul Villarreal, the NBA expert. We are here to take a second look at the Rockets' first preseason game and how JLin did in that game. You can see second look there on your screen with the picture of JLin. I've never done this before, but based upon all of the feedback that I got in the comments about this game, I wanted to do it. And to be fair about it, I didn't get to watch the game. I had to follow the game on a play-by-play feed and the shot chart. And so I've made probably about 100 of these videos about Jeremy, maybe more than that in the last year and a half or whatever it is. And this might be the only game I've ever done a video about that I didn't actually get to see the game. Now, I told you guys in the last video that it was just a mess up. I thought the game was going to be on NBA TV, and it wasn't, at least not where I was. And so I didn't get to see it. But since that time, I have watched the game, and I got a much different take on the game watching it than following it without watching it. So just to do a high level, what I'm going to talk about in this video, I'm going to go over how the game went after having watched it and compare that to what I said without having watched it. That's going to be basically the entire video. We're going to talk then about JLin versus Patrick Beverly, and I'm going to take care of a little bit of other business, which is some remarks about the comments and just a couple of shout-outs and what have you. Also want to say quickly, I'm making this video much later than when I thought I was going to make it. I told people last night that I was going to get the video done yesterday, but the issue when you have a game and you have it on video, you can go over and watch it over and over and over again and rewind it and all this stuff, which is what I ended up doing, which is why it took me so much longer to do this video. Usually when I watch a game, I don't have that option. I just watch the game and it's over and that's it. But when I have it and I can keep rewinding and rewinding and rewinding and going over it, then that's what I tend to do. And that's a big reason why this took me so much longer to get this video done. And I apologize for that. I did tell people that this would be done yesterday, and I just wasn't able to get it done. I also apologize for making the first video. I wanted to make the video because I was excited for the game, and I know that you guys were excited for the game, and I thought I had gotten a decent feel for the game based upon the play-by-play feed and the shot chart, but that wasn't the case. So I apologize for that. I know a lot of you guys, Joyce Ward, Malor Kyle, Kel Draco, a couple other people were like, dude, your take is wrong about this game. And you guys said that, and you're right. You were right. I also want to say before I keep going, this video is going to be a little bit scattered. The reason why I say that is I've got tons and tons and tons of notes written about this game, but I didn't take the time to organize all of them for the video because I didn't want to waste any more time in getting the video done. So if there might be a couple of stalled segues or dead air periods, so just bear with me. I just want to get this video finished now because I did say that it was going to get finished yesterday. And going back to the previous point, don't be afraid to criticize me. I'm a big boy. I can take it. I don't mind when people disagree with me. I don't delete comments when people disagree with me. We're just not into that here. I'm not, if you guys have something to say it. If you think I'm wrong, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm confident in my knowledge of basketball. So I'm not afraid for somebody to challenge me about that. And I get it wrong sometimes, plenty of times. certainly it's very easy to get something wrong when you didn't see the game, which is what happened to me. Now, on a high level, okay, in the first video and the last two videos, I have talked a lot about the possibility of Patrick Beverly potentially taking the starting spot from JLin. And a lot of people haven't been really happy about that, including Supreet Singh Ball and many others. And I understand that. This is a JLin fan channel, so you guys don't want to hear me saying things like Jeremy might get benched because you're fans of Jeremy. As I said before, though, I have to be objective about things and have to talk about things, and we have to talk about all possibilities, all realistic possibilities. And coming into this year, based upon how Patrick Beverly played in the playoffs and all of the talk over the summer, much of it by JLin doubters, we needed to talk about the possibility that Jeremy might lose his starting spot. However, for all those people that weren't happy about my talking about that subject, you're going to be a lot happier about this video. I can tell you that right now. Now, Shaqtin' a Foo said in the comments, hey, are you just going to change your opinion because of what the commenters say? No. Anybody that's watched these videos for any period of time will tell you that I'm pretty opinionated. I'm pretty confident in what I believe and what I see and my ability to analyze stuff. And I'm not going to change my opinion based upon what anybody says. I mean, not because I'm not going to listen to anybody, but I'm not a weak flower that's going to get blown in the wind. If I believe something, I'm going to say it, regardless of if everybody in the comments says something against me. And that's how you should be. Believe what you feel, believe what you see, believe your own analysis. So I'm not making this video or changing my opinion because of what anybody said. I did make the video, though, because other people were telling me I was wrong, and I knew there was a chance I was wrong because I didn't see the game. But if I had seen the game and I had a certain perspective, then I'd be a lot more hesitant to change my opinion. But that wasn't the situation here, so it's time to watch the game and see if I was right. And it turns out I wasn't right. And that's okay. Like I said, that's okay. You have to admit when you're wrong. And you do have to listen to other people, particularly when they know something more than you know it, because they saw the game and I didn't. Okay, here's the high level of this, okay? So I talked about Jeremy might lose his starting spot, blah, blah, blah. When I watched this game, the whole game, particularly the times when Jeremy was in the game and when Patrick Beverly was in the game, my overall impression is that I don't think Jeremy's going to lose his starting spot based upon what I saw in this game. Now, it's only one game, and Patrick definitely had some good moments in this game. There's no doubt about that, and I'm thrilled for him because I like him, and I know he's a good player, and he's going to help the team. And he really adds something to the team, and that's great. However, what I noticed in this game, and various commenters pointed this out, and I actually talked about this some on Real GM today. Again, I posted Real GM, the forums, the basketball forums, general NBA discussion. I post there more than I post in the Houston Rockets board on Real GM. And my name on Real GM is Hot Rocks 34. And I also post on Clutch Fans as Phi Slamma sometimes, although I have not posted anything there in the last few days. But there was one poster in particular on Real GM named Brutech, I believe his name is, making some very, very good points about this game. and as regards Jeremy and Patrick Beverly. And I agreed with him, and what he said is what I saw. I told you guys in the last video about the plus-minus numbers from this game. Jeremy was a plus 16, which was the best on the team, and Patrick Beverly was a minus 8. I also said that's not a fair way to completely judge the situation. If Patrick goes on the court and the guys that he is playing with on Houston aren't as good as the guys Jeremy's playing with, that's going to make Patrick look worse. If Patrick goes on the court and the guys that he's playing against are better than the guys that Jeremy's playing against, that's not going to make Patrick Beverly look good. So it's not, you can't only look at that statistic. You have to look at more than just that. However, in watching this game, I thought that there was definitely something to that number and why it worked out the way that it did. And I will talk about that. Now, I broke down every good play that Jeremy had, every good play that Patrick had, every negative play Jeremy had, every negative play Patrick had. I'm not going to talk about all of them. Again, I'm not prepared to do that, and it would take too long. However, the overall thing that I saw in this game, and a number of you guys pointed this out or pointed towards it, the team looked better when Jeremy was playing as compared to when Patrick was playing. And that includes when Patrick got to play with the starters and Terrence Jones in the third quarter. Now, I'm not saying the team looked bad with Patrick playing. It didn't. But it looked better with Jeremy playing. And I'm going to talk about why I think that is. It is generally accepted that Jeremy is a better offensive player than Patrick Beverly is. Now, Patrick Beverly shot the three-point shot better than Jeremy did last year overall, although in the last couple months of the season, Jeremy's three-point percentage was like 40%. But Jeremy started out the year with a lesser percentage, and that, to my feeling, is because of his knee and his knee strength. If you don't have your legs under you, you're not going to shoot well in general, particularly for somebody like Jeremy, who has relied heavily on his legs for his jump shot. We've talked about that and how he's changing his form on shooting and how he's going to rely less on his legs going forward. But last year, he relied a whole bunch on his legs. And that's the reason why his shot was better as the season went along. And it wasn't as good at the start of the year when he wasn't healthy. Yes, doubters and haters, he wasn't healthy at the start of last year. Okay, we've talked about this. Just remember that. The team did better, particularly on offense, when Jeremy was in this game because Jeremy runs the offense better and he has more offensive skills than Patrick does. Now, Patrick's improving on offense. You can see he's improving. He's getting better at driving now. He's adding to his game, which is great. Good for him. But Jeremy has more skills. He's a better playmaker. What that means is making plays. He can set guys up for easy shots off the dribble. And his passing ability is better than Patrick's is. And so as a defense, you have to respect that. You're concerned about that. Patrick doesn't concern you as much as a defense as Jeremy does. And so that changes how your teammates get to play. Because if the defense is scared about you, that makes it easier for your teammates because you're going to draw some attention, particularly when you're driving to the basket and the guy's got to decide, do I go guard Jeremy or do I leave my man and Jeremy might find him on a pass? The starters had excellent rhythm in this game. They played as a unit. not only on offense, but also on defense. Jeremy played very well in this game on defense, extremely well. In some ways, I thought he played better than Patrick did, and I talk about that a little bit more later. But so we said that Jeremy, his offensive skill set helps the team. There's another extremely important point that I saw in this game, and it was mentioned by that Real GM poster that I said, Brutek, or whatever, however you say his name, Bruteque, or something like this. Whenever Jeremy was on the floor, James Harden played much steadier on offense. He wasn't forcing as much. He wasn't Harden ISOing as much as he did last year. He did it a few times, but not as much. Whenever Jeremy wasn't on the floor, James Harden had the ball in his hands much more, and he was ISOing much more. And it didn't work that great very often. And that disrupted the offensive flow of the team. And that's a big reason why I think the team did better with Jeremy on the floor, because of how James Harden played. People mentioned in the comments, Jeremy looks like a point guard again. Right. They are letting him play point guard, and what that means is they're pulling back James Harden playing point guard when Jeremy's on the floor. When he's not on the floor, James Harden's playing point guard more. I love James Harden. James Harden is a terrific superstar player, but he's not a point guard. He can play point guard, but he can't play point guard as well as Jeremy can play point guard. And that is why the team did better with Jeremy on the floor. And to be quite honest with you, that's not Patrick Beverly's fault. But the reason why the team, the coaches, Harden himself, is taking over the offense when Jeremy's not on the floor is because Patrick's offensive skills aren't as good as Jeremy's. So if his skills were better, James Harden wouldn't take over the offense. Now, again, it's not all Patrick's fault. Patrick might be sitting there thinking, dude, let me run the offense, James Harden. And if Harden let him run the offense, then it might go differently. It might go really well. But that's not what's happening. That's not what happened in this game. And this comes back to what we've talked about several times this summer, and that I can't remember the commenter's name, Arsenium12, I believe, helped me out with. This goes back to why Dwight Howard wants JLin on the floor. When JLin's on the floor, Dwight Howard's going to get the ball. When JLin's not on the floor, Dwight Howard might not get the ball. And you saw it in this game. And James Harden might start doing ISOs and taking wild shots. In fact, Dwight Howard said after this game, I saw it in an interview the Clutch put up over Clutch fans. Dwight Howard said something to the effect of, he mentioned something about taking quote-unquote wild shots. Well, guess who that's talking about? It's not talking about JLin. Let's just put it that way. So all of this comes together. Everything we've talked about, everything we've observed, everything we've heard. What's happened for this team, and Brent Yen just was talking about this, I believe, in the comments. I was just there literally like 5 minutes ago before making this video, and I told Brent was talking about the whole, hey, Beverly fits better than Jeremy on the team argument that was so popular this summer. Well, here's the reality now. With the addition of Dwight Howard, and with a slight change in the offensive system because of Dwight Howard, guess what? JLin is now a better fit for this team and for the starters than Patrick Beverly is. And that's because they've gone away from heavy perimeter playing and ISO offense on the perimeter, primarily based around James Harden. And that's what they should do. If you watch this game, you could see how much Dwight changes everything. He puts so much pressure on the defense, even more than I remembered for him at the Lakers last year. It changes everything. James Harden can't do that. Not because James Harden isn't good, but because he's not 6'9" and 270 pounds. Guys were getting easy baskets, like the Chandler Parsons dunk, because Dwight's getting doubled. James Harden is not going to get doubled like that as much. And if he is getting doubled, it's not going to be 5 feet from the basket. So Dwight changes things more than James Harden does, which means you need to get the ball to Dwight a whole bunch. And I'm not saying you run the offense through him, but honestly, you pretty much do. Because he's going to make it easier for everybody. And so what I think the coaching staff understands is that they do need to change the offense and build it more around Dwight. And that's what they're doing. And that means you need Jeremy on the floor. So I am more confident than ever now that Jeremy is probably going to be the starter and remain the starter. Now, look, if Patrick plays really well, Jeremy doesn't do as well these last 6 preseason games or early in the season, yeah, you could see a change. I don't think you're going to see a change based upon what I saw in this game. So it's basically take the last 2 videos I made and my leaning towards it might happen, and that's all out the window. That's all gone. And again, I'm not saying this to make anybody happy. I'm saying it because that's what I saw. This team plays better. The starters play better with Jeremy on the floor. When Patrick Beverly came in for Jeremy in the third quarter, Houston was up by 8 points. And then the Pelicans made a run. Now, by the end of the quarter, the lead was actually back up to 9 points. So in other words, with Patrick on the floor during that 6 minutes or so, Houston gained 1 point advantage over New Orleans. Well, they were up by 8 points. And you know what Jeremy Lin's plus minus was. This isn't a mirage. There's a reason for this, and it's what I explained earlier. The offense flows better with Jeremy on the floor because then James Harden is playing the position that he should play because now you got Dwight Howard on this team, and you don't need James Harden to freelance. You need James Harden to play a shooting guard. Have the ball sometimes, isolate a little bit, but not much. And the reason why I say that is not because I love James Harden. It's a higher percentage play to run the offense through Dwight than it is to run it through James Harden because the shots are closer to the basket. Dwight's going to draw more double teams, and guys are going to get wide open shots. If you watch Dwight Howard play in Orlando, forget about the Lakers thing because that was distorted. 1, Dwight was hurt. 2, Kobe wants to take all the shots. So it's a different thing. If you watch Dwight Howard in Orlando, it looked kind of like that. This is basically Houston's going to be a super Orlando, which is a very scary thought for the rest of the league. Now, Dwight might not be quite the player he used to be in terms of athletic ability. When you have a back surgery, that can take a little bit away from you athletically. However, his skills are better, and they probably will get even better working with Mikal and Akeem. But the rest of the team around Dwight Howard is better than the rest of the team around him in Orlando. And I don't want to put down that Orlando team. They had some good players. Rashard Lewis, closer to his prime. Hedo Turkoglu, who was playing great at that time. Jameer Nelson. There were some players on that team. But the talent on this Houston team is better than the talent on those Orlando teams. And look, one of those Orlando teams went to the finals. So that'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. This team is scary. Houston, if they put it together and they're healthy, they're gonna be incredible. That doesn't mean they're going to the finals this year, winning the title, although they could, but they're going to be dominating. And you could see it in this game. I had forgotten just how much Dwight changes everything until I watched this game. It's like, oh man, wow. That's why Kobe wanted him. It makes it so much easier for you to get points because all you got to do is cut to the basket and, just like Chandler did on that dunk. Now, I'm going to turn to defense. The general perception is that Jeremy's not good on defense, and Patrick's the best defensive player that ever lived, if you listen to some people. Patrick is a great defensive player. He's particularly a great defensive player on the ball, meaning when he is guarding the man with the ball in his hands. Jeremy played excellent defense in this game. I mean, terrific defense. And I actually came upon, somebody was writing this on Clutch Fans several days ago. They said when Jeremy was with Golden State 3 years ago, 3 years ago now, he was actually regarded as a defensive specialist, which is hilarious considering how people think about him now. The biggest problem for Jeremy as a defender is that he doesn't have great lateral foot speed. And I think some of that is because he's a bigger guy. I think a lot of his weight, his body weight, is in his legs, meaning he might have a little bit of heavier legs. Well, when you got pretty thick, heavy legs, not as easy to move quick. It's a lot easier for a small guy with thin legs to move his legs quick. So I think that's part of what happens for Jeremy. But Jeremy knows how to use his body on defense, and he's very smart on defense. What I noticed in this game, overall, when Jeremy was playing defense against Drew Holiday primarily, whenever New Orleans would run a pick, somebody would come up and try to block off Jeremy to help out Drew Holiday get free. Jeremy wasn't switching on pick and rolls. What that means is New Orleans sends up like a center, and that center sets a pick against Jeremy. They stand in front of Jeremy, and then Drew Holiday runs around him. If you switch a pick and roll, what that means is that Jeremy guards the guy that set the pick on him. So Jeremy ends up guarding the center, and then the center on Houston guards Drew Holiday. Well, they weren't doing that very much with Jeremy. So Drew Holiday would get by Jeremy because of the pick, but then Jeremy would come catch up to him. He would chase him down and harass him even after that. Jeremy was criticized last year for not being good at fighting through screens. In other words, someone sets a pick and you don't react to it quick, or you don't fight, you don't move the guy and get back to your defender quickly. Well, he did really well at that in this game, really well. And he, even on the picks, he was still able to go catch up to Drew Holiday and give him a hard time. Drew Holiday, when Jeremy was playing Drew Holiday, I think Drew Holiday might have scored like 4 points, and I think all of them were on free throws. In other words, Drew got a three-pointer when Jeremy was against him, but it was in transition. Jeremy wasn't guarding him. Chandler Parsons was guarding him. So in other words, when Drew was going against Jeremy, he didn't do much. And Drew Holiday was an all-star recently, maybe last year. It's not like Drew Holiday can't play. Everybody's out. Drew Holiday sucks, and Patrick Beverly destroyed him. No. Drew Holiday is a good player. Let's not confuse that any. He's a good player, and he didn't get a whole bunch done against Jeremy when Jeremy was guarding him. I was extremely impressed with Jeremy's defense in this game. He did get beat a couple times, just because of lateral foot speed and stuff, but the way that the rules are set up now in the NBA, they favor offense. Nobody can stop good guards from getting around them. It's going to happen. What then is about how fast can you recover from that? Can you still get on the guy and bother his shot? And Jeremy did great on that. What I noticed when Patrick was in the game was the opposite of this. Whenever they would set a pick on Patrick, they would switch. And so Patrick would switch men. And so he's guarding the center or whatever, and then the center's guarding Drew Holiday. Well, that didn't work real well for Houston. That didn't work particularly well. Now, I don't know why they did that. Again, Patrick's a smaller guy than Jeremy. If you're smaller, it's harder sometimes to fight through screens because usually the person that sets the pick is big. So you have to be strong to get through them and get back to your man. I don't know why they were switching on pick and rolls with Patrick and they weren't switching almost ever with Jeremy. But the point is, Jeremy did well on defense in this game. Now, again, you see the 4 steals and the video. Patrick Beverly destroys Drew Holiday, and Clutch put that up, and it was on YouTube. That's great. But that's not the whole story. There were deficiencies for Patrick in this game on defense, or situations that weren't great, like the switching the pick and rolls. Jeremy, you didn't hear about as much, but Jeremy, I think, had like 3 steals in this game. It's not like he didn't play well. Patrick had 4, Jeremy had 3, and Patrick played a couple of minutes more than Jeremy did. So, in other words, things are being distorted here. And look, I distorted them in the first video, but when I saw it, it's like, hey, this was a little different than what I thought it was. I'm not taking anything from Patrick. He's a terrific defender. Part of the reason why Patrick was able to do what he did against Drew Holiday is because Drew Holiday is a pretty big guy. He's even a little bit bigger than Jeremy. Drew's probably about 6'3.5", 6'4", and 205 pounds. That's even bigger than Jeremy. That's the reason why Drew Holiday was trying to post Jeremy up, because he's got a little bit of size on him. Not much, but a little bit. If you're a big point guard or you're a big player dribbling, it's easier for littler players to steal the ball from you because they're smaller. They can get underneath you and get at the ball, and that's what Patrick Beverly did to Drew Holiday. I'm not taking anything away from Patrick, but that might not happen against somebody that's Patrick's size. But he's smaller than Drew Holiday, and that helped him. For Jeremy, he's not really smaller than Drew. He's roughly the same size. So it's a little harder to get down and get low and get under a guy when you're the same size as them. So let's talk then about Jeremy's turnovers. Now, in the video I made, the first video, I said, it's the turnover bundles and all this. Look, people tried to tell me this, and they were right. The turnovers weren't bad at all. 2 of them were missed alley-oops, that's nothing. That's Jeremy trying to get used to Dwight Howard. And to be honest with you, they weren't bad passes. One was a little bit high, but Dwight didn't go for either one of them. So it was just a matter of Jeremy thought Dwight was going to go for an alley-oop, and he didn't on either play. That's where you just got to learn your new teammate. That's nothing. That doesn't mean anything. And it'd be great if it didn't happen, but that's going to happen because you're playing with somebody you haven't played with before. That's nothing. That isn't anything. So just scratch those off the board. The turnover where Jeremy traveled, that's another play that happens frequently in the NBA. I've seen everybody do this. I've seen Kobe do it. I've seen LeBron do it. The reason why I don't have a problem with it is because it was an aggressive play. Jeremy was trying to make a play, and he was so eager to go to the basket, he took a step before he dribbled. It's a typical play, and it's a typical play when in a bang-bang situation, in a quick situation. Jeremy I don't think he expected to get the ball there. He got it. He saw an opening, and he wanted to take it. And his mind got a little bit ahead of his dribble. Again, that's not a big deal. That play happens all the time in the NBA. You don't want it. You want to try to avoid it, but it's going to happen every now and then. And it was an aggressive play. He wanted to make something happen. I'm not concerned about that. The only turnover that you could say anything bad about, in my opinion, is when Anthony Davis stripped the ball from Jeremy. Well, let me tell you something about Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is whatever he is now, 6'10" or whatever he is. Anthony Davis used to be a point guard, and he's one of these guys that had a massive growth spurt in high school. Anthony Davis is a phenomenal player. He can do that to people. Usually, if you're a guard and you have a big man guarding you, you're happy because the big man can't guard you. Well, Anthony Davis can guard people that are point guards because he was a point guard. And he's used to that. And his hands are good. He also, I'm not saying he's at the same level, but he's like Akeem. Akeem Olajuwon, who now is obviously working as a consultant with the Rockets. Akeem had unbelievable hands for a guy as big as he was. He got all kinds of steals. Well, I think Anthony Davis is like that because of his background being a smaller player. So that wasn't a great play by Jeremy, but that's kind of one of those situations where Jeremy's going to learn, don't try to do a crossover move, which is what he tried to do against Anthony Davis, because that might not work out really well. And Anthony Davis is one of the few big men who might actually be able to stop you. That's a lesson for Jeremy to learn, and I'm sure that he learned it. So the point being, none of the turnovers were bad, which is exactly what Joyce Ward and many other people tried to tell me. I was all getting turnover bundle. No. This was not a turnover bundle like type that Jeremy had in the past, like last year. This wasn't the same thing. These were plays. These were like he was trying to make something happen. Even on the Anthony Davis play, he was kind of caught in between. He wanted to pass the ball on that play, but the guy he wanted to pass it to, and I don't remember who it was, kind of looked him off or turned around, and so Jeremy kind of had to do something. And he went, tried to do a crossover against Anthony Davis, and Anthony Davis made a play. And again, you probably won't see Jeremy trying a whole bunch of crossovers against Anthony Davis in the future. But that's just Anthony Davis is a great player. None of these plays was a bad play. Even the Anthony Davis play wasn't a bad play. I think Jeremy felt like he needed to make something happen. The shot clock might have been winding down, and he wanted to pass, but he couldn't pass, so okay, drive to the basket. The misses that Jeremy had in this game on his field goal attempts. One was blocked by, I want to say, Anuako. I can't remember how to say that guy's name, and I apologize to his fans. The man of the Nigerian heritage. First, that guy is a gigantic, or actually it might have been Aminu, who they might actually both be of a Nigerian background. I don't care, but I know it because of their names. Jeremy thought that he had a step on the defender, but he didn't quite have the step, and that's why his shot got blocked at the rim. It's not a bad play. It's just if he would have been a little bit quicker, he would have gotten the shot off. But he wasn't able to do that. It happens. I mean, that's just something that happens. The missed layup that Jeremy had, again, I think he wanted to pass on that play, but then he saw that he had an open driving lane, and he went up and he shot it over either Greg Steemsma or else Jason Smith. It was a good shot. It just Smith or Steemsma challenged him at the very end, and if you get a guy that's 6'10", 6'11", challenging you, you're going to miss some shots. But it wasn't a bad miss. And then, of course, the three-pointer that he missed from about 80 degrees right of the top of the arc. Austin Rivers made an excellent challenge on that shot. It was a good shot. And as I told you, as Jeremy's form gets better, and it is getting better on his three-point shooting and his long-distance shooting, the misses will be closer. That miss was, I believe, slightly to the right, but it was a good miss, even though Austin Rivers was all over him. That's okay. You can't hit every shot you take, and you certainly can't hit every shot you take when someone's right in your face. So I have no problem with any of that. What I'm trying to say here then is Jeremy played well in this game. He played better than I gave him credit for all around, and the team played much better when he was in than when he wasn't in. And that was reflected in the plus-minus. Now, to be fair to Patrick Beverly, he did play a number of minutes with lesser players. He didn't get to play all the time with Dwight Howard, and he wasn't even playing with Omer Asik or Greg Smith. And that's particularly can hurt you on defense. If you're Jeremy and you're playing defense and a guy gets by you, well, Dwight Howard's going to help you out. If you're Patrick Beverly and Omer Asik's not playing and a guy gets by you, well, then maybe he's going to go against Demo, not Asmata Yunus. Well, that's not the same thing, which means the guy you're guarding might get more points, or he might get points he wouldn't get if you were playing with Dwight Howard the way that Jeremy was. But again, Patrick did play with Dwight in the third quarter, and it was still a very similar thing. It was still a similar plus-minus type of a deal. And part of why that happens, in addition to everything I've mentioned, switching pick and rolls on defense, how the offense is going, is because of how the offense was being run. If James Harden is coming down and getting the ball out of Patrick Beverly's hands and going ISO one-on-one, and he's shooting a wild shot, well, guess what? That means New Orleans is getting a fast break, and they're going to score. So, in other words, everything affects everything else. The way that you play offense is going to affect your defense. Again, you can't blame Patrick Beverly if James Harden is taking the ball away from him and doing ISOs, but the bottom line is that that's not happening nearly as much when Jeremy's in the game. And so, going back to Brent Yen and this whole thing about the fit argument, Jeremy fits the team better than Patrick does right now, which is, again, it's much different than last year, or certainly the perception is much different than last year. So I am far more confident, based upon this performance, that Jeremy's going to remain the starter, and that he should remain the starter. The great thing for Houston is that both Patrick and Jeremy can play, and they look like they're ready to play. Now, I'm not saying these guys are going to lead the team, because they're not going to lead the team in terms of scoring or offense or whatever, but they don't have to lead the team. But they're ready to play. The point guard position shouldn't be an issue. Coming into this year, it was a question mark, just like the power forward position was a question mark. Well, point guard's looking pretty good right now. Again, neither one of them are Chris Paul, neither one of them are another great point guard, but they're good, and they're good enough. and they're doing what they need to do. They both played an efficient game. They didn't force shots, and they played good defense. And that's all you need. If you've got stars on your team, not everybody has to be a star. I'm not saying Patrick or Jeremy can't be stars. We know Jeremy can be a star. We've already seen that. But they work. They're good enough to do what they need to do for this team. In terms of Jeremy, I said in the first video, he's work on the turnovers, work on the fouls. Well, that's true. The fouls that he got, the one was, I can't remember the first one. One of the fouls was when Drew Holiday posted him up. Honestly, that didn't look like a foul to me. I think Drew was fortunate that was called a foul. I think Jeremy had two other fouls. They weren't bad fouls. I don't remember them sticking out. I'm sure I have notes on that, but I'm not going to take the time to look at it right now. They weren't bad fouls. They weren't bad fouls. Now, I want to come to something else. Joyce Ward said this in the comments. She said that Beverly's got to be careful because people are going to be coming after him. I agree with that. The reason why this thing happened, this little Beverly destroys Holiday, is because they were going at it a little bit earlier in the game. And I don't mean going at it like they were fighting. I mean, it was kind of like, Drew Holiday scored on Beverly and Beverly tried to come back at him. Become like a one-on-one battle type of a thing. That's great. You have to be very careful of that if you're a player. You don't want to get caught up in that because that's not always good for the team. And Patrick is a very competitive person, and that's good. But you got to be careful of that. You have to be careful of that because that can hurt the team. When Beverly had his spurt against Drew Holiday in the fourth quarter, Houston lost points off the lead. In other words, when the fourth quarter began, they were up by, like 8. And at the end of the Beverly destroys Holiday, they were only up by like 5 or something. In other words, it's great that he's doing well, but it's not a one-on-one battle. The whole team's involved here. And if you're making Drew Holiday mad, well, he might make mistakes, but he might go to work on you too. And I think that's part of what happened in that sequence because they went, I remember that the team went to a timeout. I don't know which team, one of the teams. And I think Drew Holiday was talking to Patrick Beverly, like trash talking to him. Look, that's good if it works. If you can gain an advantage on someone talking trash to them or getting them to focus on you, well, that's good, but it doesn't always work. And you can make guys play better if you do that. That's the danger. I don't think Jeremy does that. And sometimes it's better to not do that. So it's good that Patrick's competitive. It's good that he's fiery and he's up on guys' chest. That's great. Sometimes it's not great. And sometimes even if he's doing well, the team's not doing well. And going to what Joyce Ward said, sometimes if you can put a target on your own back. If you're the guy and you're the guy that's around and people are getting hurt around you, Russell Westbrook, Tyreek Evans, guess what? Guys are going to come looking for you. I'm not saying that. I don't want anything to happen. This is the way it happens. This happens like in American football all the time. If guys think you're dirty, guys think that whatever, well, you better be careful because they might come looking for you or might come and set a hard pick on you, knock you down, bang you up. Jeremy doesn't get involved in that stuff very much. He plays hard, he plays well, but I know Joyce mentioned what Miami did to Jeremy. And if you don't remember that or you don't know about that, what that was is this was in 2011, 2012. When Linsanity was going strong. And essentially, and Miami was in the second year of their big three. And my understanding was that Jeremy was getting all the headlines. And I think Miami's team got a little bit upset about that. And so they wanted to kind of shut Jeremy down and slow down Linsanity. And they did that. And they did it really, really well. And that's an example of if you're making a name for yourself, or you're on the radar screen, people are going to come looking for you. And Patrick hasn't had that yet, but Jeremy's already been through that. And nobody's looking for Jeremy right now. The only person who might be looking for Jeremy and might be looking for him, so to speak, for the rest of their careers is Darren Williams. Because Linsanity started against Darren Williams. And so every time I've seen Darren Williams play Jeremy Lin since then, he tries to go crazy against him and score a bunch and do really well. That's what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it's not good to get the other person upset, because then they'll try even harder against you, and that doesn't always work really well for the team that you're playing with. Also with Patrick's style, high intensity, high energy, it's not sustainable. You can't play like that 40 minutes a night, night after night. It just won't hold up. In fact, when Patrick was taken out of the game in the fourth quarter, I thought he looked a little tired. And that's because he's putting out so much energy on that little sequence against Drew Holiday. Well, you can't do that. It's one of the things that we've talked about with Jeremy. If Jeremy plays fast all the time, he's not going to have any energy. So you have to be able to play slower too. So if you're going all out, you're not going to be able to play very much. Another example of this is Chris Birdman Anderson, who plays for the Miami Heat. He is an energy player. He goes all out every minute he's out on the court. But because he does that, he can only play about 20 or 25 minutes. And then he's going to be fatigued. He's tired. Well, that's going to happen to Patrick, and it might have happened last night or the other night in that game. I think I saw that a little bit near the end of his stint. So it looks great. And you get the video package and the steals. That's good. But you have to look at everything. How the team do during that stretch. Is Patrick going to be too tired to sustain that? Is he making the other team upset? And that's going to come back to hurt Houston. So when you look at all of that and you combine that with how the team looked when Jeremy was on the floor, I don't think Patrick Beverly is going to be the starter. I really don't. It could happen. There's two reasons why it could happen. Patrick does great. He continues to do really, really great. Jeremy regresses. His game doesn't look as good or whatever. Or Mikhail just decides to do it. Mikhail, I think, likes guys that are steadier a little bit more. And I talked about that in the first video. In some respects, Patrick's steadier than Jeremy. In terms of he might not have as many turnovers. He might not have as many turnovers because he doesn't have the ball in his hands, and James Harden does. But I think Mikhail is a little bit more inclined towards the type of player Patrick is than the type of player Jeremy is. Now, I don't know if Daryl Morey is like that. I think Daryl Morey likes attacking guards on offense like Jeremy is. But Morey is not the coach. Mikhail is. So in other words, what I'm saying is Mikhail might make a change and make Beverly the starter, even if it doesn't make sense. He's the coach, and he can do that. So that could happen. But if that doesn't happen, then I think the only way you will see a change with Jeremy not starting is if things go completely one-sided for the rest of the preseason or early in the season. And quite honestly, I don't think that's going to happen. In other words, I don't think Jeremy is going to play poorly and Patrick Beverly is going to play incredibly. I don't think you're going to see that. Jeremy's healthy now. Jeremy's much more relaxed. You can see it. You see him on the sidelines. He's much calmer. He's much happier. His mind is free now, which means he can play his game, and he's healthier. He's coming into this season in condition. His leg is strong. He's ready to roll. I was really impressed with Jeremy. He did get to play point guard. They let him have the ball in his hands. And if you saw Jeremy, he was the leader on the team. In other words, he's doing what a point guard should do. You see him talking to guys on free throws and during breaks in the action. He's talking to people. That's what a good point guard does. That's what a leader does. So I like where things are at. And this game was much different than what I thought it was. Much different. And I completely admit that. I love where Jeremy's at in terms of his game and in terms of his position to remain the starter. I would be surprised if he loses his starting spot now, based upon this, based upon all of this information, based upon how the team looks without him, based upon how the offense runs without him, based upon Dwight Howard and how the team is likely to play. And something I didn't mention, James Harden wants to play more defense and save some energy this year. Well, you can't save energy or play great defense if you've got to play 40 minutes a night, score 20 points, and have the ball in your hands all the time. That's very draining. It'll be much easier for James Harden if he doesn't have to control the offense. Let somebody else control the offense. It's like LeBron with the Heat. Sure, LeBron can play point guard. And a lot of times he is the person with the ball in his hands. Well, that takes a lot of energy. So if you have somebody else on the team who can handle the ball and run the offense, it's much better for LeBron because then he can save his energy. That's the situation James Harden's in. And James Harden knows that. So I think the coaching staff knows that. James Harden knows it. The team knows it. And Dwight Howard wants the ball too. All of that points to Jeremy being on the court more. And Jeremy getting to play point guard and Jeremy being a starter. Things could change in the ways that I said. The other consideration between Beverly doing great and Lin not doing well for the rest of the preseason or early in the season, or else McHale just deciding to make the switch for whatever reason, is if the team believes they need scoring off of the bench. If they feel like their second unit doesn't score really well and they need somebody to come in and score points, that's a situation where Jeremy could become basically the sixth man and play the role that Harden played when he was in Oklahoma City. So I will say that's the third scenario. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the bench will be able to score enough. When you see like Caspi, that guy could score. He can shoot, but he can also get to the rim. So, and look, Patrick scored well. He's scoring better than he used to score, which means there's less of a need to put somebody like Jeremy as the sixth man to get scoring off the bench. So right now, I'm very confident about Jeremy remaining the starter. I'm much more confident than I was before I watched this game. And I do think that Jeremy now fits the team, and particularly the starters, better than Patrick Beverly does because of his skill set and his ability to run the offense and pass a little bit better and get his own shot a little bit easier than Patrick Beverly can. So for Jeremy, keep working on your defense, which looked great. Keep working on your ball handling. It's definitely better. Keep working on that left hand and keep working on your shooting. As long as Jeremy's able to hit his threes and his long 2-point jumpers pretty well, well, there's even less of a reason to take him off the floor or thinking about not starting him, because Patrick was a good three-point spot-up shooter last year, and that's what the team kind of needed. You will still need that on this team, even if the offense is different, because that's what Dwight sets up. Dwight sets up wide-open three-point shots because he's getting double-teamed, and people are looking at him and paying attention to him, which means guys are going to be wide open. So Jeremy does want to continue to work on that skill, and clearly he's worked on it. And just from watching him shoot in practice and watching him shoot in this game, it appears as though Jeremy is a little bit better shooting three-point shots from straight ahead, facing the basket straight on, and on the corners and on the like a 45-degree angle than he is in the corners. And that's typical. I mean, everybody has spots they like to shoot from and spots they're not quite as good at shooting from. Now, I could be wrong. That could be a small sample size that I saw, and that's not really the story. Maybe Jeremy likes shooting from the corners more than he does straight on. The corners are shorter because of the way the court is designed and the way the three-point line runs. The three-point shot from the corners is a shorter shot than it is from anywhere else on the court. So some guys love shooting from the corners. The thing is, when you shoot from the corners, you don't get to see the backboard. So it can kind of mess up your depth perception a little bit. But Jeremy will get, if that's an issue for him, he can get beyond that. So that's the summary here of this part of the video. I loved what I saw in this game from Jeremy. It was much different than what I thought it was. I'm not concerned at all about the turnovers. Jeremy looks great. He looks healthy. He looks in condition. I've clearly seen improvement in him. He's playing at different speeds. Again, not just playing fast at full speed. He's picking his spots, when to play fast, when to play slow. He's running the offense. They're letting him run the offense and play point guard. He's showing leadership. His shooting form definitely looks better, and he looks relaxed. Honestly, it's about as good as you can expect. He only played 19 minutes, and he still scored, 11 points. The only thing you can take exception with at all in his performance is the turnovers. And again, it's nothing. It was nothing. The team wants him. The team wants to play fast. Well, Jeremy's trying to play fast, and he's trying to take chances, but in a good way. The alley-oops, again, that's just getting used to Dwight. The travel on the play where he caught the pass, that's just that he's trying to be aggressive. That's nothing. The Anthony Davis thing, we already talked about that. Jeremy is keeping the team playing at a tempo. He's really getting good at knowing when to run, when to slow down. His decision-making is improving. You can see it. And this is what the team saw this summer. All the positivity in the video I made, the McHale positivity. They see this. They see how hard he's working. They see that he's quicker. They see that he's stronger. They see that he's learning. He's learning. He's improving. Clearly improving. And Patrick's improving too. But the team currently, based on this performance, and we'll see more as the preseason goes along, the team runs better with Jeremy on the floor. And the starters play better with Jeremy on the floor. That's clear. It's clear statistically, and it's clear based upon the eye test. And Jeremy's a better fit for this team and this style than Patrick is right now, because of Dwight Howard and because you're not playing perimeter ISO shoot ball. Now you're trying to play a little bit different, and Jeremy fits that better than Patrick does. for now. I said, things can change. Patrick's going to keep improving, but I love where Jeremy is. Now you're starting to see the real Jeremy Lin, and you're starting to see a guy that's getting to play point guard, and it's great. So, whole different thing than what I thought it was. Completely different. And you guys that told me I was wrong, you were right, and I was wrong, and I'm happy I was wrong. Now let's move on to a couple other issues. First of all, the comments. JLin Shazam. Don't come in and start messing around with other commenters. Calling people idiots. I don't want to see that. Again, you could say what you want to say to me, as long as you keep it within reasonable bounds. I'm not concerned. People can have their say. Try to stay away from a bunch of rude words and try not to make personal attacks on other commenters. If you do that, you're going to get banned. I've done it to other people. Some people, I banned them and brought them back, and they were cool. Some people never got brought back. Don't come in going crazy, particularly not on other commenters. I just don't want to do that in commenters that have been here a long time. Please don't do that. I'm happy to have you come in. You can say, I don't know anything. That's fine. Just try to keep it within reason. Okay? I'm just looking over my notes here. I should not have this issue anymore. As I said, the issue about I didn't get to see the game. Now, again, I was talking about League Pass. I think Brent Yen said in the comments that NBA League Pass doesn't cover the preseason games, which is really stupid, in my opinion. But whatever. I don't think this will be an issue again for the rest of this preseason. If it happens, well, either I'll just make a video and talk very briefly and say that I didn't see it, or else I'll try to watch the game and then make a video. I don't want what happened to happen again, and again, I apologize about that. Shaktanafu, I think that you said that Joyce is super smart, Joyce Ward, whatever, and she is. She's great. She absorbs everything. She does a great job. She often helps me. She points things out that I didn't know or that I didn't see. And I see a lot, but I certainly appreciate what she does and what everybody does, because as I told you guys recently, Jeremy and the Rockets are going to get more coverage than ever now because people realize how popular Jeremy is, as I've talked about, and because Houston's going to be a really good team. And again, I have a little bit less attention span right now just because of other things going on for me. I'm not going to see everything. So if people see things, that helps me. And it helps me make better videos, and it helps people that come to watch the videos that are fans of Jeremy get more information. So that's great. And certainly Joyce Ward is great on that. And there's plenty of other people that are good at it. A lot of our fans, a lot of Jeremy's fans, people that watch these viewers that are multilingual, people that are reading stuff on sites in China, reading stuff on sites in Taiwan. Well, they get to see stuff that I don't get to see because I don't read Mandarin Chinese. They help me out a lot. And there's interviews and columns and reports that are done in different languages, and they get to see them, and I don't. So there's a whole bunch of people that see things and that contribute to the information in the comment section of the videos, and we appreciate all of them. I also said in the other video that Jeremy was benched in the third quarter because he didn't play well. That's false. I was wrong about that. He wasn't taken out because he didn't play well or he had a little bundle. He was taken out, from what I could tell, because the coaching staff wanted to let Patrick play with the starters, the same way that they wanted to let Terrence Jones play with the starters. That's normal experimentation. They're trying to build chemistry with that unit, and they're trying to see how those guys play with the starting unit. As I've told you guys before, I do think you will see games this year where Patrick finishes the game rather than Jeremy. And the reason why that might happen is because, say, Houston has a lead, and they just want to play lockdown defense. Well, McHale might put in Patrick for that, just to try to hold a lead. And so you might see some of that. And that's why you might put Patrick into the game with the starters yesterday, just to see what it looks like and to let them get chemistry together. That's fine. I do think Jeremy plays better defense than people think. But as I mentioned earlier, McHale, I think, likes the type of player Beverly is a little bit more than he likes the type of player Jeremy is. Not that he does. It's not about Patrick and Jeremy. It's about what style a coach likes. Mike D'Antoni likes players like Jeremy. He would like a player like Jeremy more than he would like a player like Patrick Beverly. McHale, I think, might like a player like Patrick Beverly more than he likes a player like Jeremy. So you might see a little bit of that. And that's fine. That's fine. It's not like, look, let's be honest and fair to McHale. First of all, I'm glad McHale did not play Jeremy too many minutes early last year because Jeremy's knee wasn't ready for it. And if he tried to do it, he might have gotten hurt again. But towards the end of the regular season last year, once Jeremy's starting to play well and get his health back, McHale played him a ton. He played him heavy minutes against teams like Denver and down the stretch. So it's not like McHale, he'll play Jeremy. He might not be, again, he might never be the perfect coach for Jeremy, but he'll play him. He'll play him. So if they want to do a little stuff and put Patrick in the end of the game, that's fine. I'm not going to freak out about that. Don't worry about that. I think things will work themselves out just fine. I told you guys also recently that I've seen a lot of Lin fans going on to Clutch fans now, and I'm really, really happy to see that. It seems like there has been a serious effort made by fans of Jeremy around the world to go and join Clutch fans. And that's what you should do. Don't just sit and complain about Clutch fans doesn't like Jeremy. Go join it. And that's what you're doing. And again, I see that now. I see that. A lot of people that like Jeremy, smart people, they're joining, they're making good posts, they're supporting Jeremy. Just like I told you with Jeremy making the videos for himself in the summer. Get in the conversation, participate in the discussion, and then you get to shape it instead of just being upset because someone else is shaping it. And that's what I see happening. I did think, as I said in the first video about this game, I did think people would start yelling about Beverly should be the starter. That didn't happen that much, including on Clutch fans. It happened some. I saw in a real GM because, again, somebody made a video from Clutch fans about, Beverly destroys Drew Holiday, and then people started, Beverly's going to start, and Wow. I went to real GM and tried to straighten some people out, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And the reason why it wasn't so much of an outpouring is because those people, probably a lot of them saw the game, and they saw exactly what you saw, and they saw exactly what I saw when I actually got to watch the game. It wasn't what I thought it was. So, good. That's really, really good. I'm sorry, I'm just looking through my notes to see more stuff here. Yeah, look, again, I do know a lot of people weren't happy about what I said in the last two videos before this one. But we do have to talk about everything. We have to talk about all possibilities. The ideas were out there. And it's still going to be out there with some people. Look, Patrick plays great the next game and Jeremy doesn't. You're going to hear it all over again. But I'm never going to say stuff just to try to incite you guys. There are people who will say things and say crazy things because they want views and they want hits. Well, we're not going to do that. I very rarely do that. I'm just going to tell you what I think, whether I'm right or wrong. But I'm not going to try to play you for hits. That's just stupid. I think that's the reason why a lot of people like these videos, is because we just try to be honest about it. Now, if I don't get to watch a game, then I might really get things wrong, like what happened in the first video. But I'm not just going to, just do stuff like that. That's just stupid. And if we did that, nobody would watch these videos because they think we're clowns that are trying to troll for views. Well, we're not going to do that. So we want to be objective. We want to just try to call it straight. When Jeremy doesn't do well, I'm going to say that. When Jeremy does great, I'm going to definitely say that and play it up. But we're not going to try to invent things or invent controversy or any of that stuff. That's just silly. Now, Melody Ting told me last night, said in the comments, the team is already in the Philippines, and I guess that Jeremy took his mom and his dad, and I believe his brother, I think his older brother Josh, and his sister-in-law, or at least his sister-in-law. So that's great. Sounds like the team has brought a lot of family with them, and that's really good because then the families get to bond, and that helps the chemistry of the players. When your family knows the other family and people supporting each other more, getting to know each other more, that is really, really good. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Lin, Jeremy's parents, are from Taiwan, which is one of the 2 stops on this tour, of this trip to Asia. So it's natural. It makes sense. They're going to want to go. They can go see family. They can go see friends in Taiwan. I know a lot of you guys are excited. People that the Lin Garden fan club that's in Taiwan, you guys are going to get to see Jeremy, and it's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to hear the stories. I mean, the first game in the Philippines, in Manila, is coming up on Thursday. Right now it's Monday, or it's actually very early on Tuesday as I'm making this video, but so we've got a couple days. The team can kind of adjust to the time difference, get some practice in, and that's good. That's going to help out everybody. And again, the families get to spend a little time together. People get to explore the Philippines. I know that James Harden went to the Philippines this summer, and he loved it. If you don't know much about the Philippines, in terms of their taste, they love basketball. It's gigantic over there. My understanding is that the Philippines' favorite team on average is the Lakers, which is it's normal. Lakers are very popular globally, but in general, people in the Philippines love basketball. Huge fans. And we see it whenever I do NBA videos about anybody. Any team, there's always gets big hits in the Philippines. You just tell how much they enjoy basketball over there. So that's really good to see. Like I said, the game is growing like crazy. And the primary growth is Asia, in countries like China and countries like the Philippines. It's still growing. Don't get me wrong. It's still growing in Europe. It's still growing in Latin America, South America. But it's just going through the roof in Asia, partly because there's a lot of people over there. You know, there's 1 billion plus people in China. There's 1 billion plus people in India. There's a lot of people in the Philippines. Well, that's where the growth is. And it's great to see. It's great to see. Certainly in the Philippines, of course, one of the icons there is Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is a gigantic basketball fan. I think he owns his own team, and he plays when he can. So it's smart for the NBA to play a game there because of how popular basketball is in the country. And, of course, it's growing in Taiwan. You got the king of Taiwan, basically, in Jeremy. So, you know, that's a no-brainer. I want to give a couple shout-outs to the site I Say TW, which is I Say Taiwan. I was told that they translated one of these videos, and we really appreciate that. The person that's done a lot of translations for us is very busy right now, and we completely understand that. She's got a lot that she has to do right now in terms of her life, and completely understand that. And we appreciate everything she's done for us, and we support her completely. But she told me, I believe it was her, that somebody had translated it on I Say TW. And so we just want to say we appreciate that. I Say TW has been very supportive of our videos, and we appreciate that. We appreciate everybody that shares these videos. Been a lot of different people in the past. Gosh, I can't remember this one site that helped us a lot last year, and I apologize for that. A site out of San Francisco or the Bay Area that is a site that's in Mandarin, and they put up our stuff all the time. Certainly, we appreciate the efforts of Jeremy Only Lin Garden. I was also told that Hanny Chang and Lisa Tong of Lin Garden translated another one of the videos. So we also appreciate that. It is not easy to translate stuff. I've done some of it in the past. I have some rudimentary Spanish language skills. It takes a long time. And to translate something, you have to listen to the whole video, first of all, and then you got to translate and put it in a different language. That takes a lot of work. And these people are doing it for free. So we certainly appreciate that. It just shows you how much people are fans of Jeremy because they want to share this information with other fans. And it's great. So I said, Jeremy's fan community is amazing. They're awesome. And we appreciate everything that they've done for us. We know you guys have seen the videos. They've sent us, myself and John, gifts. They've made pictures for us that we've used in the videos. So these are great people, and we appreciate them. And as I said, we appreciate places like JeremyLin.net, who supported our stuff before. We appreciate all the people that are covering Jeremy, that are fans of Jeremy, all the sites. I've certainly mentioned before about Jeremy Intelligence and Andy, who does a great job with that YouTube and that blog. And there's plenty more. There's a whole bunch of people out there. We said Jason Friedman doing great work on Rockets.com, off of the NBA.com. And he's also on YouTube, as we said. Red94, Hot Hook. Certainly Clutch fans, they're doing a great job. I was really happy to see that the people that made the Linsanity film sent Clutch some tickets to the film, and he was able to pass around to that. Look, you can't, in my opinion, and I've been on the internet talking about basketball for 20 years now. I can go back and find posts of mine that I would make on an old message board, or a news group is what it was called. It's basically like an early version of a message board from 1994. There's still Google, Google has them in a cache or whatever from way back. So I've been doing this a long, long time. Clutch fans have been around since like 1996. And I remember them. I remember when they started. I remember when Clutch got started. If you're going to deal with the Houston Rockets on the internet, there's no way you can get around Clutch fans. That's the easiest way I can say it. Clutch has got his spot. So it's intelligent, in my opinion, for the Insanity film people to deal with Clutch. I said, you can't escape Clutch and Clutch fans if you're going to talk about the Rockets. It's like a black hole. Nothing's getting away from that. So I'm glad to see that they did it. And it's also why I've told Lin fans, go join Clutch fans. Just go talk there. Don't let it be a spot that you think doesn't like Jeremy. You go make it a spot that likes Jeremy. And that's what a lot of you have done. And I'm really, really happy to see that. I guess that's about it. Look, I'm sorry this took longer than I thought it was going to take, but if you give me something like a video and I get to rewind it, it's going to take a long time if I'm analyzing it. And that's basically what ended up happening. It took much, much longer than I thought it would take. I loved what I saw. I love where Jeremy is. I love where he's at mentally. He's relaxed. He's having fun. The team's having fun. It's a loose group of guys, but they care about winning, too. That's a combination you want. The reason why the team's having so much fun, you see them joking on something, it's because they're young. I mean, everybody on the team except for Francisco Garcia and Marcus Camby is under 30 years old. I mean, Dwight's like 28, 29. He's like the old guy on the team in a lot of ways. This is a young team. They're having fun, but they also want to win. They're competitive. They're focused. I still haven't had a chance, obviously, to make a preview video for the season and for the team. I probably will wait on that until the roster cuts. Right now, the team is at 17 players. They have to get down to 15 players. My guess is that Reggie Williams is going to get cut. He hasn't played at all yet. I don't know if he's hurt or whatever. I would think he's going to get cut. I'm not wishing that, and Reggie seems like a good guy, but that's what I think is going to happen. That means that you're then at 16 guys. The next cut's probably going to be pretty tough. But the team's loaded. They're loaded with talent. And not only are the guys talented, they're focused. Dwight's in shape, and he wants to prove people wrong. Jeremy's in shape, and he wants to prove people wrong. Patrick Beverly's gained 10 pounds of muscle, and he wants to challenge for more playing time. James Harden's lost weight, and he's in shape. Chandler Parsons has put on muscle. He's ready. His team they're in a good spot. It's still going to take time, and I've said I don't have overwhelming expectations for this year because it's the first year together, but they're ready. And if they're healthy, they're going to do a lot. And so I can't wait. I'm looking forward to the game on Thursday. As I told you guys before, the game on Thursday is, if you're in the United States, it's going to be very early in the morning. On the East Coast, it's going to be at about 7:30 in the morning, and hopefully it's going to be on NBA TV. I'm pretty sure that there's nothing else on NBA TV at 7:30 in the morning that's going to take the place of this game, unless there's another game going on at the same time in China or whatever. But I do think the Lakers and another team are going to be playing in China soon. But so hopefully there won't be any conflict in scheduling on NBA TV. Again, the game is going to take place. It's going to take place 7:30 p.m. local time in Manila. It's going to be 7:30 a.m. on early Thursday morning here on the East Coast of the United States, 6:30 a.m. Central Time, meaning in Houston. So look for that. I expect to watch the game and do a video right after it. I'm still working on the Twitter thing. I haven't had a chance to do much on it because I've been studying this video from the game. That's about it. Right now, it's 12:35 a.m. early on Tuesday, October 8th, I believe, 2013, here on the East Coast of the United States, meaning it is 12:35 p.m. on Thursday, October 8th in Manila, the Philippines, and in Taipei, Taiwan. F. Paul, it is 5:35 a.m. early on Thursday, October 8th, 2013 in Central Europe. I hope you guys are having a great night or great day wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. Hope the weather's not too bad where you're at. It is early fall here in the northern hemisphere. It's great weather where I'm at, which means it's early spring in the southern hemisphere in Australia, where Melody Ting is, and others are of Jeremy's fans. South America, Africa, most of Africa anyway. Hope everybody's doing well. I will be down in the comments. I'm happy this video is finally done, and I'm happy that I got it right this time, or much more clearly correct than the first video. And I'm glad you guys told me that. Yeah, I needed to know that. And we needed to get the story straight. And the real story is a whole bunch better than the story that I had in the first video I did on this game. That's why you do a second look at the game, which is exactly what this is. So, take care, everybody. See you in the comments. Have a great night and a great day wherever you are. Talk to you soon. For the fans of Jeremy's that are in Asia and Manila and in the Philippines generally and in Taiwan, it's going to be a great week, and I know how pumped up you are. I know I heard from Julianne that the Lynn Garden group is getting ready to go and greet Jeremy at the airport outside of Taipei, just like they've done before, and that's going to be pretty awesome. And I'm sure that the whole team's going to be excited about that because you get to greet them too. So it's going to be a fun week. It's going to be a fun week. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Take care. Talk to you soon.